Sorry about that. I got a phone call in the middle of the sentence there. So what I was trying to say is, okay, now the British AI is kicking in. And there's a lot of steps here, folks. I'm not saying that any of them are hard. At first, they're going to be a little time consuming, especially because we're learning as we go. But there's a lot of steps. There's no getting around this. And this is going to be a lot of table lookups for those of you who were complaining about that, or at least showing some interest in it. I don't think there's a lot of decisions, but then again, this is the AI. We're not supposed to be making decisions for the AI. So in fairness, the table lookups I think are legit. So let's dive in and get to it. So first thing we're going to do is what's called British detection. So this is step 2 of the raid. We're going to roll a die and consult the detection track. So this is just like what we used to do when we were playing Lion. And then we apply our modifiers and figure out what the warning and intelligence levels are. So is it, intelligence poor? Is the warning early? Things like that. So what we're going to do is look at this table up here. And I'm going to roll a 6, which we would have been excited when we're playing Lion, but that sucks for us. Okay, so we roll a 6, so they're already at a 6. Then we just follow the modifiers, right? Add the target card's observer value. Well, it's this is Luftwaffe 2, so it's broken clouds. That means it's 0. And for those, this is clear, patchy, and then broken. So it's 0. We're adding 0 to the value, and that's what this is. And it even shows you clear, patchy, broken. It tells you the breakdown. Okay, so then we add +2 for every undamaged radar, which, we're attacking a radar right now, but it relies on 4 and 5, so it's adding +4. So 6 + 4 is 10. Okay. Are we attacking with nothing but ME-109s? If we were, we would actually reduce it by 2. So that is a strategy. Like, you can just attack with nothing but fighters, but that's not what we did. And then if there are 3 or more radar nets damaged, we don't get to add any radar numbers. Now, how many groups are in the raid? This particular one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have exactly 10. So we add +4 to the number. So 10 + 4 is 14. So having the big raids does help them to detect us. So there you can see they have sufficient warning and accurate intelligence. So we didn't fool anybody with this particular raid. Okay, so now if they would have gotten a poor, so when we played Lion, just as a reminder, if we had poor intelligence, we had to commit our planes before knowing how many planes were coming and what type, right? If we had limited intelligence, we got to see how many were coming, but we didn't know what type. And then if we had accurate intelligence, we knew everything. We got to see how many were coming and what type before we committed our planes. Well, the AI works the exact same way. If it was poor, we would actually be doing an extra step right now, and the AI would guess how many planes are coming based on factors in a die roll. Okay, they don't have to do that. They have sufficient warning and accurate intelligence. So it's going to change which table we use. And that's where we get to here, the raid response priority chart. So a couple of things are happening here. I'm jumping a little bit ahead. So the next thing we do after we determine what we just did is we do the rendezvous check. So that's this side. So we do our rendezvous check. So let's do that. And that's this table. And let me just roll a die first. I rolled a 6. I have no idea if that's good or bad for us. Is there 15 or more groups in a raid? No, there are not. We have 10. So if I would have rolled this and this was true, I would have rolled the die again, and then any of these bad things would have happened to us. Okay? None of them are good. But since this wasn't true, nothing happens to us. So this isn't like, a death trap, but it can be. And that's the thing. And 3 raids are planned for the current time segment, including raids already resolved. So if I would have rolled a 2, I would have had a bad day, right? So that's what this is, right? We never want to roll a 2 in this situation, okay? Yeah, enough of that. If I would have rolled a 1, it would have been bad as well. Okay, so that part is done. Nothing bad happens to us. We keep pushing forward. Okay, next thing we do is the British raid response, and this is what I was getting into. So let me help you step through the rule book here. We did British detection. We did the rendezvous check. Now this. Refer to the eligible sectors chart on a target card to generate the raid response pool. So that's what we're going to do next. And that's what I was just about to do when I realized I was jumping ahead. So what you do is you grab the target card and you take a look at it. And you need to look at this table right here. Remember in Lion, we looked at what only was in the yellow here. That was the only thing that mattered. In Eagle, we look at this over here, and then this over here only matters, just the numbers here matter. The en route and range does not. Okay, so if you look at our detection level, we are sufficient and accurate. So you got to remember that. So sufficient means we use the S. So this is no warning, this is late warning, sufficient, and then early warning, okay? So we had sufficient, so that means what you do is you look at sector 211, and actually this is, what is that? Group 11, sector 2. I just like saying 211. We grab 2 planes from there. Okay, so we go to 211 here. That's 211, and we have to grab 2 planes. Oh, there's 3. So what do? The rules actually have a resolution. I have more Hurricane than Spitfire, so I grab a Hurricane first, okay? Now I have a tie. Spitfires always beat Hurricane, okay? So those are the 2 I pick, always, all right? It's very straightforward. And then I have a cup here, and I put them in the cup. So what I'm doing is I'm building a pool of potential fighters that might intercept. Now, that does not mean they're going to. That's the cool thing about this AI, is we're creating a pool of fighters that might intercept, and then the AI is going to start looking at the situation a little deeper and then saying, you know what, I don't want to respond to this. Or it might say, you know what, I'm all in, or let's only send half of them. It's going to do that. And so it's pretty slick. Now, one rule that we may not experience for quite a while in the game, but I want to press it now while you guys are learning, is this game has the concept of green pilots. And green pilots occur when the experienced pilots pool runs out. And if there's a green pilot, it's going to look reduced on the board. It'll be a reduced fighter. They do not go in the cup. Reduced fighters, if you get selected, they are the first ones to join the raid. So if there's anybody joining the raid, it's going to be them first. That's top priority. So you don't throw them in a cup. What happens if you throw them in a cup? You're going to lose the fact that they're a green pilot. You see what I mean? How are you going to know which ones were the green ones and which ones weren't? I mean, it would be a nightmare. So if you have a green pilot, just set them aside. And then once you determine that a certain number of pilots are going to, respond, these are the ones that get picked first. And then, if they don't get picked, then you just put them back in their sector. And that's the cool thing, is anything in this cup that doesn't participate in the raid, you just put them back in the sector that's written right on them. So that's a 2/11. They always go back to 211. And they're not going to do like we did with Lion and move all across the board. None of that stuff happens here. So it's very straightforward, okay? And that's also important. If they don't respond to the raid, they stay on the board. They go here, of course, if they do respond to the raid. We use that chart, that tote board, which is you guys should recognize that if you play Lion. That should look very familiar to you. Okay, so let's keep going. So what this is saying is that 211 put 2 in, 111 is going to put 2 in as well. So we have a Hurricane first and then a Spitfire second. So that's going to happen. And then 711 is going to put 1 in. And we have a hurricane and a hurricane. So we're just going to take a hurricane. And then 311 and 611 would have only gotten involved if it was an early. So what you're seeing here is, okay, in Lion, that's not fair. These two are getting involved, but in Lion, you only ever use the yellow ones. However, if I put them in patrol, I can take the 311 and 611 and I could have moved them into one of these yellow ones into patrol. I just had to have the foresight to do that, right? So if you look at this situation, it's a little brilliant, and the AI is factoring that in. It's just that they cheat a little bit, right? And so if you get an early rating, then they do that. Sorry for the barking. So so we got our little pool that's created. And my dog's going to bark a little bit. So I gotta go. Sorry for the short video. Thanks for watching. I will be back very soon.